If you thought 2024 was a big deal, well, get ready. 2025 is shaping up to be the year of the reckoning. We're about to see a collision of some really powerful, competing forces that are going to reshape our world in ways we're only just starting to figure out. So let's break it all down. So the big question is, what are these forces? What's really going to define the next 12 months for all of us? Well, it's not just one thing. It's this wild mix of forces that's going to touch everything from global politics to the tech you hold in your hand. Okay, so we're going to break this down into three big ideas. First up, a massive political reckoning. Then we've got the AI revolution, but it's hitting a bit of a reality check. And finally, tying it all together is this deep sense of radical uncertainty that connects everything else. Let's dive right into the politics. All right, first on the list is what a lot of people are calling the Trump effect. After a year packed with major elections, the potential return of Donald Trump to the White House? That alone could trigger a seismic shift in global geopolitics and trade as we know it. And the key words you're going to hear over and over is transactional. We're talking about a move away from those old, long-standing alliances built on shared values to something more like, okay, what have you done for me lately? This puts America's allies, in Europe, in Asia, in a really tough spot. They're forced to ask, can we actually still count on the US? And you can bet this uncertainty is going to play out in some very specific global hotspots. Take Ukraine, for example. This could push them towards negotiations where, territory gets traded for some kind of security guarantee. Then you look at the Middle East, and the whole balance of power is kind of up for grabs. And over in the South China Sea, clashes between China and the Philippines could seriously escalate without that predictable American backstop. Now, back in the US, the economy is actually starting 2025 in a surprisingly strong position. We've got low unemployment, inflation seems to be cooling off, but, and trust me, this is a huge but, the proposed policies are throwing some massive risks into the mix. We're talking about huge tax cuts and really aggressive new tariffs that could easily just pour fuel back on the inflation fire and slam the brakes on growth. And if you want a number to really understand that risk, how about this? A potential 60% tariff on all goods coming from China. Wow. This isn't just some minor trade tweak. It's a move that could kick off a full-blown economic war and send shockwaves through the entire global supply chain. So what's the reaction, right? Well, businesses aren't just going to sit around and wait. Chinese companies are already getting creative, finding ways to get around these trade walls by building factories in places like Mexico and Vietnam, specifically to serve the American market. And hey, this isn't some far-off prediction. It is already happening, and at a record pace. Chinese firms poured a staggering $163 billion into foreign investments in 2023 alone. This trend is only going to get more intense, and it's basically rewiring the entire map of global trade. Okay, let's switch gears to our second major force, AI's reality check. For the past couple of years, it's felt like AI was all about limitless, sci-fi promise. But in 2025, that promise is about to smack right into the hard wall of physical reality. The amount of money pouring into AI has been just astronomical. We're talking an estimated $1.4 trillion needed just for data centers. After all that cash, 2025 is the year where investors are going to start knocking on the door, demanding to see real, profitable results. And that's where they're hitting some serious roadblocks. First off, these data centers use an unbelievable amount of energy, and they're seriously straining power grids. Second, there's a critical shortage of these super specialized memory chips you need to train the models. And finally, let's be honest, outside of a few specific areas, real-world, everyday adoption is still pretty patchy. But, and this is important, don't let that fool you. Despite the limits, the breakthroughs happening underneath it all are absolutely transformative. The science is real, and it's pushing us forward in ways that are definitely going to change our lives. And this is where it gets just incredibly cool. Take medicine. We could see the very first personalized cancer vaccines, like this mRNA 4157, actually get regulatory approval this year. And beyond that, we've got brand new drugs that were designed from the ground up by AI entering these crucial late-stage trials. This is literally science fiction becoming science fact. And all this AI-driven demand, it's also sparking a revolution in energy. On one side, there's this urgent, immediate need for massive grid-scale batteries to just keep our power grids stable. But on the other, It's pushing us closer to that holy grail of fusion power. We've got private companies building reactors right now that could change our energy future forever. So, what happens when you smash together all this political turmoil with the tech revolution that's hitting its limits? Well, that brings us to our final theme, a world that is just frantically trying to adapt. We're seeing all these fascinating shifts in our economies, our cultures, and even our day-to-day lives. On the economic front, the map of global growth is basically being redrawn. Sure, you have India on track to become the world's fourth largest economy, but what's really interesting to me are the smaller economies that don't rely on natural resources, places like Rwanda and Ethiopia. They're projected to be among the fastest growing countries in the entire world. And you see these kinds of adaptations popping up everywhere. In the corporate world, diversity and inclusion programs are being slimmed down and refocused. Over in entertainment, Hollywood is betting big on video game adaptations. And even something as simple as flying is changing. Geopolitical tensions mean airlines are having to take longer, more expensive routes just to get you from point A to point B. And here's a really fascinating cultural trend you should absolutely watch: ultra-short dramas. This is a booming media format coming out of China. Just imagine these hyper-addictive, minute-long soap opera episodes designed specifically for your phone. And get this, they're often scripted and produced with a lot of help from AI. It really feels like a glimpse into the future of entertainment. So all of this really brings us to the core tension of 2025. There's this growing gap between these escalating global threats and the ability of the old, traditional powers to actually do anything about them. The world's problems are getting bigger, but the old rulebook just doesn't seem to apply anymore. And that leaves us with the ultimate question for the year ahead. As technology just keeps accelerating and these old alliances start to fray, this huge leadership vacuum is opening up on the world stage. The real question is who, or maybe even what, is going to step in to fill it? That's the story we'll all be watching this year.